Hey, Dean. It's Kurt from Seattle, Washington, headquarters for Travis Industries.
Now, with all this new EPA technology that a lot of people may have forgotten about because of the COVID-19 virus and everything else, there's all these new regulations that came out for wood and pellet burning. Yet you started on this way ahead of everybody else. Again, I don't know what crystal ball you have to see this stuff coming, but tell me a little bit about the lineup now that apparently you got new products that are ready to come out to us.
They're in production, they're in inventory, and these are the most efficient wood burning or pellet burning products we've ever built. These are the easiest ones to use. Over the decades, sometimes when you get a complex goal of emissions reduction, the unit gets too complex, it's difficult to operate correctly. These are the easiest stoves to operate. The glass stays the cleanest. We've got long overnight burns. You got a wide BTU range. This new standard that we saw coming several years ago, we thought we didn't know how to solve the issues, what EPA was asking for. We did not. No one had ever gotten stoves to burn that clean. So it was a challenge, but we saw it coming. Before it became law, we go, this might happen, let's get busy. And we put our shoulder into it. We put thousands of man hours in experimenting on how to reduce emissions, increase and improve efficiencies, and still have all the things you want in a fireplace or a wood stove or an insert. You want a big viewing area, you want an overnight burn, and you want to be able to control the fire. Some of the stoves that met these new tough standards, they threw the air controls out. They had one sweet spot where the stove burned cleanly, and that's all there is. And people want a low fire on a cool day. You want a hot fire on a cold day. You got to have that range of control. So these new products we came out with that are just available this year for 2019, 2020, all these products have been 2.5 years in the making, and they're the best products we've ever made.
And this is that new gen technology for wood burning, I think you call it?
We call it the next generation. And everything we've learned over the last 40 years about wood combustion is embodied in what we call this next generation. And it's non-catalytic. It's a single air control. We've got a tremendous BTU range, meaning you can get a low fire and you can get a high fire if you need it. A lot of that went away with this new EPA standard. A lot of manufacturers couldn't figure out how to do it. Another thing, Dean, that we decided to do, the EPA gave us the option of using cordwood during the test or dimensional lumber. We thought, well, cordwood is a variable that you can't really count on, so you really have to have a robust heating system to handle all the variety and variables in cordwood. But that's what people burn. So we designed this entire line of new heaters around the cordwood standard, which was a whole new threshold of emissions reduction, and we did it. We've got the greatest numbers, we've got the greatest stoves, and we did it with the fuel people are going to use in their own homes, rather than dimensional lumber.
So the emissions figures that you have on your wood burners, you would say are more realistic figures than in years past.
Well, everyone in years past, as standards developed over time, they were using a 4x4 or a combination of 4x4s and 2x4s of a certain species of wood, kiln dried to a certain level. So everyone had as uniform a fuel as we could identify, because you're burning solid fuel, okay? But that wasn't realistic. People don't burn beautiful Doug fir that's got 14% moisture content. So over time, as the EPA looked at emission standards and how we're affecting neighborhoods and communities, they're going, gee, if we could add cordwood burning and monitor the test with cordwood, that'd be more realistic. That'd be closer to what we're going to experience in the field, in the homes across America. So, boy, all the guys in the science side of the business goes, how do we do this? We have no idea. We've spent all these years developing products that burned what we call an EPA log, a dimensional piece of fuel. So it was a lot of research, a lot of trial and error to come up with stoves that in the laboratory tested as well as we hoped they would. But again, now we've got a line of stoves that these stoves do exactly what you do in your house. You're burning the fuels that America burns, cordwood, not dimensional lumber.
Right. Well, isn't it ironic that back in 1986 and 87, you set the standard for the industry with the clean air emissions by bringing out the Avalon 996 with its Air 2 technology that really the rest of the industry copied. And you're resetting today's standards with your next gen technology, again, non-catalytic. You're able to figure all this stuff out without a catalytic converter, just naturally with nothing that people have to maintain or replace. Pretty amazing.
It's kind of our corporate DNA. We have about 30 patents issued to us in the combustion fields alone.
30 patents?
Yep, U.S.
Wow.
Foreign patents on how to burn wood cleaner, how to burn pellets cleaner, how to burn gas cleaner. And some are mechanical patents, some utility patents. But we've developed ways to get more energy out of the fuel, whether it's gas or wood. And the thing we want is we want a relaxing fire, we want a beautiful fire, and we want to use whatever fuel you choose, we want to use it efficiently. And we do it in a cabinet that is beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
The fit, the finish, the textures we use are second to none. And that's the stuff that really makes an appliance a feature in a home. That it's not just engineered well, it's designed with fit, finish, symmetry, proportionality in mind, where these are beautiful appliances as well as works of engineering.
And the way you do that is by making all these parts yourself. So again, I've been at your factory and I saw a plasma cutter that takes a sheet of 4x8 metal and automatically programs into it what parts it needs to cut out that piece of metal so the scrap comes out in the shape of a softball out of a 4x8 sheet of metal. It's an amazing, amazing piece of technology to watch.
Well, we use lots of technology. We have machining centers, CNC, which are computer numerically controlled machining centers. We have fiber optics lasers. We have plasma. We have these big stamping presses. So we use certain technologies to get the best part at the lowest cost. How do we create these wonderful products and make them cost effective so people can afford it? And we also use the best materials. We've used US steel only for the last decade. So we source everything we can in America, and we use Europe quite a bit. There's some products we get out of Europe. But this is an American-made product, and boy, we really spec right down to hardware. Where's it all coming from? So again, right now we're scheduling 35,000 functions a day in the factory to build the stoves. We're at full production again, and to build the stoves we build, we're selling there's about 6,000 fireplaces go out of this factory on average every month. And that requires about 35,000 parts a day. Different forms, different bends, different holes, different sub-assemblies, different models going down the assembly lines. It's real fun because it looks automatic as you witness this, but there's 100 corrections as we go along. The fit and finish and everything, people are making adjustments. And again, everything's hand fit and hand finished as it goes through the plant.
And I remember it was 20 some odd years ago you moved into this new factory, and it was so large, I remember being there, you looked around and said, what am I going to do with all this space? And when I was there last year, it's like, we need more space. You have there's another factory next to you that's 9 acres, right next that right now you rent to Boeing aircraft?
We bought both buildings, so there's 1 million square feet of space here. We used the larger of the 2 buildings. We bought the complex from Boeing, and we leased the one back to Boeing. So Boeing uses the smaller of the 2 buildings, and I know we're their landlord. It's a great tenant. It's a great neighbor, great tenant. But I'm trying to make this efficient. 11 acres, I want to make sure we're using every square inch of 11 acres before I have any designs to take another building. So we've got, again, a lot of things happening. Raw material comes in one end, and the flow is constant. Every time the material flows, we add value to it. We add something of value. We're not just moving equipment around. We're not just moving material around. It's going in a process where you're adding to it. And at that end of the building, here comes the stoves. And we've got a shuttle that takes all the stoves down to finished inventory. All the loading docks are down there. And it's a cycle with raw material in and finished goods out. This time of year, we'll have about 10,000 stoves in inventory, a selection of all the different models we have. And that's what it takes to serve. We serve Australia, Canada, and the United States. There's about 800 stores now in the network.
And the thing that I find interesting, I've been to your factory maybe 8 times now since you've moved in, and you keep finding ways to make it even better. A lot of people in your position say, okay, I kind of reached the top. I can't get any better, but your company, everybody in your company says, how can I get better? And I noticed that to increase your traffic flow of stoves through your assembly line, you now have people in there that work for major car companies to reset up your line because that wasn't good enough before. And I'm saying, how could you made it even better? It's incredible.
We attracted a guy from the Tesla car company. He was a production engineer, and over a 2-year period, he dropped our direct labor and assembly 15%. That's huge, and it's just by having. There was a thing called the paper lantern. It was a system designed by Toyota in the automobile manufacturing, and it's spread out all over the world. Most automotive plants use a version of that particular strategy. He understood it real well, and he took it from the Tesla plant, applied it here in our fabrication flow. So from raw material through the fabrication into the sub-assemblies to assemblies, we're able to drop that labor quite a bit. What that gives us the ability to do, we're able to pay more for labor. So it flows to everybody. Everyone's doing better and better as we get more efficient.
So one of the things that, again, has been difficult for you because you're in the technology corner of the world, in order to run those types of machines, you need good people. Not just anybody can run these machines. So you have to pay a little bit more. And I understand you're competing with Microsoft and Boeing and all these other high-tech companies. So hats off to you, because you mentioned to me before this COVID, you had how many people ended up coming back to your company than left?
Our governor did determine we're an essential manufacturer, meaning we had permission to keep working. And to try to help break up the spread of COVID, I shut it down for 3 weeks. So, okay, guys, let's take a break. Let's reconfigure some of the spaces in the factory that are a little tight. We want to have social distancing. And so we took the 3 weeks to reconfigure things in the plant and come up with a new hygiene strategy. For example, all the faucets, there's got to be 50 faucets in this factory. They're all no touch. All the doorways. We have, privacy screens as you walk in the door, rather than open a door, rather than have people contacting doors. And we hired a crew of people to go through anything that might be touched in this factory gets cleaned twice a day. We take everyone's temperature twice a day. I'm not wearing a mask here because there's no one around me, but all of us here wear masks all day long. When you come in the building, you got a mask on. So we're doing everything we can. And what's interesting, we did shut down for 3 weeks, as you talked about, but we had, out of 560 people, we had 552 come back in the door. Our people love what they do. They love working, and we had very little turnover. Very little turnover. These people make careers out of making fireplaces and stoves and inserts. They become stove builders, and damn proud of it.
Well, that's a compliment to everybody in there. And you wonder why we try to imitate your company. I mean, why wouldn't we? That's just an incredible ratio to have that many people who like their job every day. And what a great thing that is anyway, to like what you're doing And there's nothing like having that passion.
One of our basic beliefs is that, man, we got a lot of smart people, and we got a wonderful part of the world where it's attracted, the Northwest is attracted a lot of people that have got a lot of ability, a lot of intellect, and so we're going to attract them to our company. Then we got to give them the freedom to use their brains and contribute. I've always thought, man, I got a really good guy, say, running the engineering department. But if we can get all 15 engineers free to think, they're not being told what to do, and then you take that and you expand it to the guys that are in the research part of it, and you go to the factory, you go, what do you think? And you get 900 people, you get the dealers like yourself. How would you like to see this? All of a sudden, we've got 2,000 people sharing ideas about how to improve the business model, how to improve the products. Man, you can't stop that. That's unstoppable.
And it's something about your gas products, a little story I want to share with you. Again, the technology I have behind me is over 16 years old, longer than that. But your new models, like what you have in your 616 gas insert, the fire is so realistic. We had a lady walk in one day saying the fire was already gone. And she says, I'm looking for a gas burner to put into my fireplace, my existing fireplace. So Chris started showing her our array of inserts. And again, the 616, your new one, was actually operating. And as he's talking to her, explaining to her, I was in the background. I like listening to my people. And all of a sudden, about 5 minutes into his conversation, she said, that's great, but I came in here for a gas insert. And he says, that's right. He said, and she said, why are you showing me a wood insert? That's wood burning in there. And no, ma'am, that's actually gas. He had to turn the remote on and off, turn the flame on and off, because she said, no, that's a wood burner. That's wood burning in there. Look at that flame. And she was astounded. That's my point about a lot of people just don't realize how special these products are that are available today. And they're American made.
We agonize over that. We agonize over the details. How can we make this an experience that's authentic? So our gas products are amazing. Again, the efficiency is great, so you're getting your bang for your buck as you use either propane or natural gas. But the presentation of the fire is outstanding. And here's a funny story. I had one of our wood-burning fireplaces next to our gas-burning fireplaces, and I'm checking it. I'm just doing an aesthetic check, looking at the ember colors, looking at the flame tips, looking at how the flames are interacting with ceramic logs at one point and real logs on the other. And I'm going, oh my God, look at those real wood logs. They're so ugly, I would never put them in a gas stove. We don't select cordwood for its beauty. We just put our cordwood in our stoves. And when we do a gas stove, I have an artist on staff here. He's a sculptor. He sculpts and he designs the gas logs that are going to live in our gas fireplaces. And we do it with an aesthetic in mind. We want the most beautiful log that is going to be there. And so we want it interacting with the flame. We want beautiful pieces of wood. And aesthetically, we want the logs to look balanced to each other. And you don't do that, of course, when you're burning wood. So the gas logs have a presentation that's just amazing. And what you've told about your consumer is not uncommon. People look at these things and they can't pick out the wood burner from the gas burner in the showroom. We've had that with over and over again over the years. And that's something we love to see happen.
Well, you did that in New York at Tavern on the Green, I believe, years ago, with technology that I have right behind me.
Popular Science magazine gave us an award for our gas burner. And it was so realistic, but it was so efficient, and it didn't have blue flame technology like furnaces do or your gas range does. We had yellow flame technology that broke into the high 70s, low 80s, and you couldn't discern it from a wood-burning fireplace. They gave us an award for one of the top 100 improvements or product improvements in the world. We won the home improvement category with our Ember Fire burners. And that continues to this day. We have different versions of it. We keep modifying or tweaking it, and it gets more and more realistic as the years go on. So yeah, we've gotten lots of accreditation over time, lots of recognition in our industry. I know, Dean, your store has won Retailer of the Year in the entire United States. How many times?
Who would imagine?
How
Now
many
that
times?
study that you had 100 manufacturers in that popular science study. There were people like Dell Computer, Boeing Aircraft. I mean, you beat out some
That won
incredible
awards
companies.
for popular science. We were there with General Electric. We were there with companies from Germany. We were there with Boeing. So the top 100 products of the year, we were one of the top 100 products in the world, from aviation, from medical, from automotive. And what's funny, we had our booth. I guess in hindsight, we didn't have our booth located exactly where they wanted us. And another vendor came in and said, "Hey, you guys are in our space. You got to move 6 feet." And I said, "Hey, it's New York City, man. You snooze, you lose. Preston's in 15 minutes. You got to find another place. Get going. Come on. We're staying right here." And it was NASA. We gave NASA the bum's rush. So you guys go down the hall there. We're busy. But anyway, we've gotten lots of awards. You've gotten lots of awards for your retail expertise. Our products have won many awards within the industry, within design competitions. Even that science magazine, Popular Science, gave us an award for that, for our gas technology. So it's been real exciting to get the recognition. But where it comes down to it, Dean, it's, are we making people happy? Do people love their stove? That's the bottom line. So all the patents, all the awards in the world don't mean anything if people aren't happy. So we see this people loving their product, and it makes a big difference in living in their home space. That's where the rubber meets the road for us.